It is hard. It's hard when you're young to wake up in the off season at 6 a.m. to go train and work out, knowing that all your friends are sleeping in and eating pancakes.
No one's good at everything. I mean, that's just not the way life works. We're all talented at certain things, but we can really continue to improve our weaknesses if we're humble enough to identify them, and we can build on our strengths. And I think we're all trying to find a more well-rounded aspect to ourselves, but a lot of that has to come with this understanding about yourself that what you know is very limited and what you don't know is limitless.
It's hard to throw, catch, block, and tackle and hit kids when they're way bigger and way more developed than you, only to go home that night bruised and battered and strained, but knowing you have to show up again the next day for just the chance to try again. But understand this, life is hard.
I think most people probably know a few things about me, but I was never, I would say, like a prodigy. You know, I wasn't like the kid where you see Tiger Woods swinging on the Johnny Carson show at 2 or 3 years old, and you know his swing looks as good as it did at 3 years old as it did, you know, as he grew older. Or you know, certain players that had this unbelievable prodigy aspect to themselves. I saw myself as someone who probably had some other traits that maybe were hard to identify, but that were really sustainable over time, which was, I would say, work ethic and discipline. Consistent discipline has been one of those prodigy-like strengths that I had. So I didn't have the arm that could throw the ball 80 yards. I didn't have the 3 speed that Michael Vick had. I didn't have the size that a lot of guys had, but I did have something inside of me that no one could see from the outside, this level of discipline that I could accomplish something that was really important and really special. Man, it's great to run the first probably 4 miles of the marathon, and it's really fun to cross the finish line, but man, those middle miles probably really suck. And if you want to be good at those middle miles, you got to work really hard in the whole off season to prepare yourself for a real big challenge, which is the NFL season. And you don't think everyone's watching? Yeah. The whole competition's watching. A lot of people can be really consistent, let's say with your diet, because it's always on people's mind. Like, I want to get healthy. Well, most people could say, man, I want to eat healthy for one day, or I want to exercise for one day, or I want to be more hydrated for one day. Well, can you do it for a week? Well, that's more discipline, right? Can you do it for a month? That's more discipline. Can you do it for a year? That's even more discipline. So I was so blessed to have this discipline over a really long period of time. I didn't know how to put the pads on in my pants when I tried out for freshman football. I mean, I had never played until that point except in the street. So I went on the field and I was like, I'm going to get killed out here. You know, and my freshman year, I didn't even play. I was the backup quarterback on a team that went 0-8. That says a lot. I couldn't get on the field, and we never won a game anyway. Going into my second year in high school, there were workouts in the morning at 6 a.m. before school. And I was like, okay, I can get up at 6 a.m. and I can go do these rope drills where you'd run through the ropes. You see a lot of people do that. There were these hills that we would run up. And there was probably less than 10 people there, but I was probably one of the 3 that were there almost every single day to try to continue to push myself to grow in these maybe physical areas that I was really behind a lot of the other people at. Because naturally, no one's good at everything. I mean, that's just not the way life works. I really started working hard with Tom Martinez to throw the ball better. My 3rd year, I won the starting job in my high school. And I loved the sport so much that I stopped playing basketball and I just played baseball and football. But in the summers, I would go, and my dad, who was very available to me, with the greatest mentor, the greatest dad I could ever imagine, was so right there by my side to say, hey, Dad, I want to be a better football player. Great, let's take you to the University of Arizona camp. Let's take you to the Cal Berkeley camp. Let's take you to the Stanford camp. You know, this is when you just sign up, and there's 1,000 other kids, and you're just in a group, and, you know, that's just the way it was. But my dad was there to say, go for it, son. And if there was a blessing in my life that I would say, you know, some of the things I blessed with, hard work, discipline, you know what I was also blessed with? Being very naive. I had no idea how hard it was. But I believed, because I was like, oh, no, like I'm going to get better, and I'm going to be better. I got offered a scholarship to UCLA. And then they turned me away at the last minute because another kid signed before me. And I really wanted to go to USC. That was probably my first choice, but they didn't want me either. They signed another kid who was one of the top recruits on the West Coast. So I get to the airport in Detroit, and I call my dad, Collect, and I go, Dad, I think I know where I want to go to college. And like, he started breaking down, and he's like, what? You know, leaving to go all the way back to Michigan. And he said, are you sure you want to go? And I said, Dad, if I want to be the best, I got to beat the best. And this is where the best are. So I showed up on campus as a freshman in the fall of 1995. I was the 7th quarterback on the depth chart. There were 6 other guys ahead of me. And Michigan is a great college. There's, it competes for national championships. And I wanted to be a great football player. If I was going to be a great football player, I wanted to compete against these other guys. And they were all better than me. I ended up becoming the 3rd quarterback in my 2nd year. And it rotated a little bit there my 2nd year, but I went from 3rd in my 2nd year to now my 3rd year, I was competing to be a starter. I had learned these tools to compete, and I said, whatever they asked me to do, that's what I'm gonna do, to the best of my ability. And I went in there, I competed really hard my 3rd year, and I lost the starting job to Brian Greasy. Going into my 4th year, I got a great opportunity to play. And they recruited a kid named Drew Henson, who was one of the top prospects in the country. And I was like, the competition's relentless. At first I was looking at the guys ahead of me. Now I got to be looking down at the guys behind me too. But I said, you know what? I'm going to apply the same thing that I learned in those previous years. I'm going to go out there and compete as hard as I can. And I'm going to treat practice like a game. And I'm going to gain the respect of my teammates every day through my work ethic. I'm going to work hard in the weight room. I'm going to work hard in the film room.